Hey guys, Wolvie here, and welcome back to the channel. As always, the usual disclaimer, any opinion here is mine and mine alone. So, this is Rebuilding Odin Part 2, and I do need to explain some things here before I do the true testing of the build itself. So, to recap what happened and why I have to rebuild Odin is that I had a bad power supply. And to be more specific, it was the EVGA Supernova G5 1000 watt power supply, and it was the 80 plus certified gold. So I don't know what caused it to go bad. With that being said, I knew the E on the one end of the power supply was flickering, and for varying EVGA power supplies, the E on the power supply would pulse instead of flicker. So I noticed the flickering on the power supply on the old power supply. I should be more specific. And again, it went bad. I don't know how on earth that could happen. And as a result, I was unable to turn on the computer at all. So I went into a bit of a panic mode. I did some degree of research, so I actually had to replace some of the parts. So I'll give a quick list of what I had to replace. So of course, I replaced the power supply unit, so it's a bit of an upgrade as well as a downgrade. Now, the downgrade side of the new power supply unit that I have, I went down to an 850 watts. So it's a downgrade in the sense of the wattage itself. But the upgrade is that I went from gold to platinum in the the efficiency of the power supply, meaning that platinum certified power supplies are more efficient than gold. So I went, so you can tell it balanced itself out in that regard. So I went down on the wattage, but went up on efficiency. So I have a more efficient power supply now than before. So that was the first thing I replaced. Now the second item I replaced was the case itself. And oddly enough, I did this twice. So you guys remember in part 1, I was going to use the Asus TUF Gaming GT301 chases. However, I ran into quite a few problems with that case. And as a result, I can no longer use it. So a couple of problems I ran into with the Asus TUF Gaming case was that you have to, do this before that. And to be more specific, install the motherboard before installing the fans. Because a lot of things don't really work with that particular chases. Now, the Lee fans, with that particular case, it doesn't really work. So it's one of those things I'm kind of angry at, because it's like, okay, you said this, but do you have brands that it works with? And that's something that they should disclose. It's like, not so much the length, but also brands. Now, that was problem number 1, was the motherboard. I had some trouble installing that. And it's with the fans, you had to be, it's really nitpicky. Now, the second major problem was the AIO cooler. Certain brands will not fit that case as well, so it was a real pain in the ass. I'm like, screw it, let me go with another case here. And the case I went with in the end is the NZXT H510 Flow. And because of the AIO cooler, I know would work with that case. Excuse me. So, with that bit out of the way, I also changed the cooler from the NZXT Kraken X53 to the NZXT Kraken X63. It's a 280 millimeter AIO cooler. I really love it, and I know that would be a perfect fit for that case. Now, I went with a 120 millimeter from Lee in the back, as well as 120 millimeter on the top, due to knowing aspects of the case. So based on the overall dimensions of the fans, so it's slightly more positive than negative in sense of pressure based on that little tidbit of information. Now, so that's another item I replaced. Now, the final item I replaced was the motherboard itself because I do need to check it. It is now the Asus ROG Strix X570E Gaming Wi-Fi 2. So I decided, you know what, let me go after the more obvious components to replace so that way I can figure out what's exactly wrong with it. So late last night, I did a test run with all of the components in place, and it does seem to be in perfect working order. Although the drawback I experienced was that I had to use an Ethernet cable in order to connect to the internet. But it's one of those trade-offs I can live with. It is something that minor, and fortunately for me, I already have a 25-foot Ethernet cable to help resolve that issue. So what we're going to do for this particular video is I'm going to do a true test run on it for where the computer normally is. And for the record, I took off the dust filter at the front just to test a bit of the performance. So I will be back in about a couple of minutes so that way I can get things set up. Okay, so I am back. So I'm going to be testing this guy right over here. I do have the little statue but it was inside the old case, I should say. So if this is 100% perfectly running, I will, instead of me putting the item back in the case, I'm going to put this toy on top of it. So that way it is 100% working. So here goes nothing. There's that. Okay, so I am back. So I had to make sure everything was plugged in secure. So far, so good. And I'm going to turn this bad boy on. There we go. There we go. We got that. There we go. And yes, I am sitting on the floor. So I'm going to turn on the mouse. And there you have it, folks. This is my workhorse build Odin. And now I'm going to put this toy right here. Something I found on eBay for a really reasonable price. And he is going to be sitting mighty proud on top of the build. There we go. We have a 100% fully working workhorse build. And I am so happy I made the choices that I did regarding of what to go after. Now, I don't care about the rainbow in the back because it's my system and I can do whatever the fuck I want with it. Haha. I am super freaking happy right now. And you have a little Sandy. Say hi to the folks. Or not. You approve? And there you have it, folks. And then this is a dual monitor, dual tower, because that is rated right over there. Don't mind the mess on top. So this is it right here, and mind you, for this is my main streaming area. I am nowhere near the word done with it, but I now have a fully working build once again, and I am super, super happy with this. So there he is in all of its magnificent glory. Ha 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 ha. And that is that on that, folks. So with Wolfie here signing off, I will catch you all on the flip side.